beauties, welcome to today's video. So in honor of this month being May and Mother's Day being right around the corner, I'm not sure when I'm gonna be uploading this, but it'll either be before Mother's Day or the week after Mother's Day. But I did touch base a little bit about my pregnancy experience as far as it being a high-risk pregnancy. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a story time of my labor and delivery experience. So if you guys haven't watched my previous video, make sure to go ahead and watch that. And before I start talking, on my lips today is the brand new Rose Petal Lip Care Trio that's available now on poshbychels.com. I just finished filming a video of how to use the three products together. So this is the Rose Petal Lip Gloss in the pink wand tube. This is the Rose Petal Lip Oil, and it has a roller top to it, like the lip glosses, I would say back in the day, but you know, yeah. And then our Rose Petal Lip Scrub. So if you're interested in those products and want to know how to get these glossy, luscious, hydrated lips, make sure to check out poshbychels.com. I'll have everything linked in the comments down below. And also don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Okay, so let's get into the video. So I mentioned in the previous video that my uterus was tilted towards the back. So it took me a while for me to show. And then once my daughter pushed into regular position with my uterus and everything, she ended up being breech. So for a majority of my pregnancy, I knew that she was breech. I was just thinking she'd probably, you know, move head down, like figure it out. They also mentioned to me that closer towards the end of the pregnancy, they could possibly try to move her. So it would be with their hands. They would try moving her from the outside. But they said they did want to wait and see, since not only was she measuring small, but I am small as well, and they typically don't do that procedure with any medication or anything like that. So I would be awake. So just imagine someone like, and it's on the outside, it's not like inside of you, but just on your stomach trying to like move and shift a baby. Sounds pretty insane and a little bit scary. So I personally was scared of that, but they did let me know that I most likely would be having a C-section. My OB just wanted to wait towards the end. He didn't like want to confirm it because he said that I was young and he had hope that she would move around, or he, you know, he just wanted to have hopes. But that was discussed in the background, I guess you could say, that there was a chance that I would be having a C-section. For me, growing up, I was like, yeah, I would love to have a vaginal delivery. But when it came to me actually being pregnant, one, obviously I think everyone's a little bit scared of like trying to imagine pushing a baby out of you. But also when it came to like the health risks of it, I was okay with it, which I know everyone is a little bit like different. But for me, I think because they discussed it with me from not really the beginning, but kind of the beginning of my pregnancy, I had a lot of months leading up to it, so I was kind of okay with it. I was aware that there's a chance that I'm gonna have a C-section. So every time that I would have my visit, we would just discuss and he would let me know. So if the baby is growth restricted and there's no more, I call it air pockets, but I think it's like water pockets, or if the baby doesn't have basically enough space, then that would have to be like, they would have to rush in, like they would have to set up a C-section as soon as possible. But he wanted to keep like inching towards the end of the pregnancy because, you know, how is he going to be able to tell me at 3 months that like, oh, you're going to have a C-section, but then once I hit 8 months it might change. But I do want to disclaim that I did have an idea from the beginning that it was a high possibility, a high chance. And I also want to mention, fairly like around when I was 7 months or so, 7 or 8 months, I was constantly having Braxton Hicks contractions. Like I would go to the and I don't think it's like a labor and delivery emergency room, but it was kind of like that in a way. It was like a triage. It was in the hospital, but it was its own separate area, but it was kind of like an emergency room for pregnant women. So I would go there often and they would monitor me, and I'm not sure if I still have the like pictures from the monitors, but yeah, I was starting to contract fairly early on. I also had milk, like I was leaking very early on as well. And then at one point, one of the times I had went and had and was having Braxton Hicks contractions, they had said that I don't think it was that I was dilated. I think they said that my cervix was short. Like it was short, and it was shorter than normal, if that makes sense. So it wasn't short enough for me to like, okay, we have to take the baby out right now, but it was shorter than how it was supposed to be. So that was like a little more details into that. So I was kind of in a way constantly in the hospital, almost like every week, whether it was for, well, yeah, every week, whether it was for non-stress tests, ultrasounds. I was always in there for something, but I was high risk. So for me, I just care about my baby being born and like alive and well. So I didn't really care. So then I went in on a Friday and he took out, so he checked for her heart rate. He checked like to see if I was dilated, like, you know, his hand in there. And then he did the final part, which was like measuring my stomach. So when he measured it, he had said to me, okay, it's measuring this many centimeters. And then for me, like with pregnancy brain, it's not like I remembered like, okay, last week I was 27 centimeters and then blah, blah, blah. But he had given me a piece of paper, like he had some urgency. He was calm, but basically he told me like, okay, you're measuring blank centimeters, let's say 27. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then he quickly went to his paper and he was like, all right, I'm gonna give you this paper, but instead of taking it to the regular window that you would take it to, like when you're gonna set up your next appointment for the following week, he said that he was going to have me wait outside of this woman's office. Obviously, like it was still a part of his practice, but it was like a lady's office off to the side. So I was like, okay, I didn't really think much of it. So, you know, I get dressed, I put on my underwear, and then I look at the paper. So with me, there's a lot of like lingo that I don't understand, but I know usually it says like set up an appointment for next Wednesday or next Thursday or something like that. But on the paper, I hope I can find the screenshots. If I find any screenshots or anything that doesn't have my public, what is it, public? That doesn't have my personal information, I will try to include it throughout this video. If it's not while I'm talking, it'll be left towards the end. But it had something on it that kind of gave me an idea that he was going to be taking my daughter out, like I was going to be giving birth soon. So I believe it said like schedule something for Monday, something along those lines. Like I said, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yes. So I turned to, not the doctor, to my daughter's father, and I'm like, I think they're gonna take her out. Like I think he's gonna schedule my C-section. And then he's like, no, like I don't think so. I think you're just like worked up. And then I was just like, no, like I think they're really gonna schedule it because of like this paper. Like I just have a feeling. So we're just standing in the hallway, and then because the lady was on the phone, and then we sit down and she's still on the phone. So I'm like not trying to like butt in, but I am kind of like trying to listen to what she's saying. So she's like, okay, do you have something for Monday at this, like I think she was just, now like after the conversation, she was calling the main hospital that I was going to be giving birth at to see what availability they had, I'm guessing for the OR. But so I was like eavesdropping, and then I'm like texting him, and I'm like, no, like if you listen to what she's saying, it kind of sounds like, I'm pretty sure she's talking about me, but I still had the paper in my hand, so I wasn't too sure. So then she turns to me and she pulls, like, she opens her drawer in her desk and she gives me like these two, they came in a silver package, but they were the antibacterial sponges, I believe. Like, you know, when people go into surgery, that it's a sponge and it's brown, the liquid is brown. So she gives me two of them. She tells me the instructions, like, you can't shave within 48 hours, which it was a Friday, so like for Monday I wasn't able to shave or anything. Or actually, I think I was able to shave because it was 48 hours. I just had to like shave that same day, if I'm not mistaken. Something along those lines, but like, you can't shave this many hours before you go in. You can't eat or drink water or anything like that. Like, so she was just giving me all the instructions, and as she's like telling me everything, I'm like, oh my god, like my heart is like beating. I'm like, oh my god, like this is the time that I was like, I knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was coming this soon. And he had like came in, and that's when like he told me, yeah, we're gonna be taking her out. Your stomach has stopped growing. It hasn't changed since last week, so we don't want to wait too long, and we want to take her out as soon as possible. So, oh, I think she was trying to find time for that, like at the hospital that same Friday later in the day, but they didn't have anything, so they pushed me to Monday. And I believe it was like Monday at 8 a.m. Yeah, it was Monday at 8 a.m. But she told me that I had to be there, I think, for 6 or 6:30 a.m. And then because of COVID and everything, I wasn't able to have anyone else, just one support person. So my daughter's father was like with me. So she's like telling me all this information, and I'm just like, I'm listening to her, but on the inside I'm like freaking out. And then we like walk out, we go to the hallway, and then I just like start crying, and I'm like, oh my god, like I like, you know, um I had, thankfully for my baby shower, I had so many gifts. I literally got everything from my registry at my baby shower, but nothing was really like built or put into place. So I was kind of like freaking out. And then I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. Like, I thought it was going to be like, I was going to have a little bit more notice, because I was thinking like, okay, he'll tell me like a week before my C-section or something like that. But obviously, because she was growth restricted, it was an emergency. So I call my family, he calls his family, I call my job, he calls his job. And that was Friday. Saturday, I went to a party. It was a sweet 15 or a sweet 16. I can't remember which number, but it was one of the two. And when I came back, my daughter's father had the room all set up, like her bedside bassinet and everything. So I was like so grateful and thankful. And then obviously when you're pregnant, you're extra emotional, so I cried over that too. And then I did the belly cast the day before, so it was Sunday during daytime. And something that I remember of being pregnant is she would kick a lot, especially when I was trying to sleep. So I would like rock her back and forth, like I would, you know, rock my body, and it would put her to sleep. And then I remember the night before, I could not sleep. Like, I found out Friday that I was going to be delivering on Monday. Saturday was when the baby's room, when my daughter's room was all set up. And then Sunday morning, my cats woke me up at I believe it was 3:33 in the morning. And they were both sleeping on the bed on like my side, like next to me, which is something they never did. And I took a picture of them, and then I went back to sleep. And then when I woke back up, I found out that my grandfather had passed away. So that was a very hard day within itself, because I lost someone, and in a matter of 24 hours I'm going to be gaining someone new. So it was hard to process and to deal with so many emotions, because you just lost someone very important in your life, and then you're gaining someone very important in your life as well. So I feel like I didn't have time to properly mourn or embrace the death of my grandfather, because I was trying to do so many things last minute, like the belly cast for my belly, and just any other last minute things. I think packing the diaper bag, even packing my bag. So I couldn't sleep the night before. I think it was because I had such a long day with the passing of my grandfather, running around, getting last minute things, as well as having to wake up early in the morning and knowing that I'm going to be meeting my daughter, like I'm going to be a mom in just a couple of hours. So I think with the death of my grandfather, it made me not afraid to have a C-section or like to be giving birth or anything, because I felt as though I had another angel, like I gained a new angel watching over me, and I felt like he was going to be with me during my delivery, watching over me, or there like in present. His presence was going to be there with me. So I remember I woke up super early in the morning. I took like a little video of my stomach. I took a couple of pictures of my stomach, and then first they had us in like a pre-surgery room, so they took my vitals, they took my weight, they had us get ready, like they put the cap on me, they had my daughter's father get like dressed up in his little C-section outfit, surgery outfit. And I have everything written down because I feel like it's just so much, and it happened 2 years ago, which is crazy, but I didn't want to leave out any details. So then we were, well, I was, yeah, no, I walked. Then we were walked to the area, the waiting room outside of the surgery room, the C-section room, the OR. So we were walked out there. They were just like talking to me, and I made sure to let them know from the beginning, like I have anxiety, I have a history of anxiety, and they let me know like, okay, just to let you know, we want to make you aware that if you're fine, like if you don't end up, like if you're okay, you're going to be awake with it, but if you end up having a panic attack or anything like that, we are going to have to put you under, just for like safety reasons, so you're not moving around or anything while they're performing the surgery. So I was like, okay, I think as long as you just walk me through step by step. And I made sure to pray a lot that day, and then I also had my grandfather's presence with me, so I felt like I wasn't gonna have a panic attack. I felt like I was gonna be okay. And I do wish that my mom and my family and everyone could have been there with me, but because of COVID. So then they walk me into the room and they tell him he has to wait in the waiting area because they were going to give me the spinal tap and all that stuff. But I honestly, the nurses were so amazing. So they showed me, like they gave me a tour of the room, like, okay, this is where your daughter will be placed after she's delivered. We're going to have the NICU team on standby, because I believe I was 37 weeks when they took her out. So I was early. So they told me we're going to have the NICU team on standby. This is where the anesthesiologist is going to be standing. They introduced me to everybody, like this is the anesthesiologist, Tom, and he has I think he was training someone, or he was like a student. He had them with them, he had a person with him, and then there was a lady, like they introduced me to everyone. They introduced me to the women on the NICU team, everybody that was in that room. Do I remember their names right now? No, but I was introduced to all of them. I was told what the equipment was going to be for. Like, okay, we're going to sit you down on this table. And I remember the OR room being very, was it cold? Or was it warm? I think it was cold. I think I remember it being very cold. Or maybe it was warm. I can't remember, but yeah, so I walked in and then they sit me on the table. They're all helping me. They're all talking to me. They're like, okay, we're going to give you the spinal tap. We want you to have like your back arched like a cat, like when a cat gets scared. And they were holding on to me. And I think they told me to not hold my breath, like to make sure to breathe and just stay still. Thankfully, it's not like I was having contractions or anything, so I was able to stand still, well, to sit still. And then they told me it's gonna feel like a bee sting, and then you're gonna feel warmth go down your back, I think I'm remembering, and then you'll start to feel numb, but we'll assist you like laying you down. But you should only be numb from I think it was like your rib cage down, and your top half, like your arms and everything else, will be fine. So they helped me lay down, like, so they put the spinal tap, and then they helped move my legs. And like when they were moving my legs, I was like, oh my god, like my legs are heavy, like I can't move them. But thankfully I was not panicking, because they already told me what to expect, what I would be feeling. So I think that was like amazing on their part. That helped me not have a panic attack or anything. And then I laid down. They told me, like, they put the blue piece up and they were all talking. Oh, and actually, once they laid me down, my OB came in and he made them do like a like find an ultrasound machine as to, or actually, I think it was before the spinal tap. Yeah, it was before the spinal tap. He made them find an ultrasound machine like ASAP. So they got it, because he wanted to check one more time to see if she was breech or not, because if she wasn't breech, he was gonna have me do a vaginal delivery, which I think that is so nice and amazing on his part, because he wanted to do the best that he could to give me the opportunity to have a vaginal delivery. But unfortunately she was still breech, so we still went along with it. I got the spinal tap, everything. I was laying down, and then it was kind of interesting in a way, because my daughter's father was let back into the room, and it was so sweet because he was worried, because it kind of took a while. So he thought that I was having a panic attack, and like they were gonna have to put me under. Like he was expecting me to walk into me like sleeping, like knocked out. And he called like his mom and everything, crying. He was like so worried, but I was okay. I was just like being walked through everything, and the emergency ultrasound that was rushed, that took time as well. So then he was just sitting there, and they were like, okay. I don't think they told me they were going to be starting, but they asked me, like, do you feel anything? They kept asking me, and I was like, nope, I'm fine. I remember the anesthesiologist, they were talking about their weekend, but I think that was probably a mechanism to make me not feel like panic or anxiety or anything. And then I remember I was just like like the anesthesia was like perfect. I was like talking, I was laughing, like I was like, I wonder what's taking so long, like why is this taking so long? And my daughter's father was like, oh, like, you know, don't talk too much, like I don't want you to like pass out or anything, like and I was like, no, like I'm okay. And then I remember I was staring at the time, and I was like, it's already 8 something, like when is she gonna come out? Why is this taking so long? Like I just remember I was so calm and content and everything. It was just an amazing experience. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget any parts. I do remember that the doctors, they were talking like here and there, like pass me this, pass me that, whatever. But I was mostly hearing the anesthesiologist, and I was talking a lot and laughing. So I remember they got like a little bit quiet, and then when she came out, I just heard like a loud cry, and then they rushed her over to the incubator. And so unfortunately he wasn't able to cut her cord, because she was a preemie, so they were, not that they were expecting her like to not come out breathing, but you just never know. It's not like they gave me a shot of steroids or anything, because for her lungs to develop, you know. So they rushed her quickly over to the incubator. They were like assessing her, trying to make sure she was okay. And I just remember like she came out, and then there was like a loud, I knew she came out when she cried very loud. I remember them rushing them over, and I could see the incubator from where I was like laying. And then I remember I had my glasses on, because I was like, I want to be able to actually like see her. And then they were like, wow, she's breathing okay. Like the nurses, I think they're like the girls, yeah, the nurses that were assessing her, taking care of her, checking her vitals and everything, they were like, wow, like she's doing amazing, she's breathing on her own. Like they were just so shocked. And even when she came out like crying that loud cry, they were like, wow, like she's crying so loud, like she has strong lungs. Like everybody was just like shocked and amazed that she was like so tiny, but she was, and she came out early, but she was like doing great. Like you would have thought she was a full-term baby. Like she was just like chilling. So she was 4 pounds 12 ounces. And then after they you know, after they put her into the blanket and everything, they let us hold her. We took pictures with her, and then they put her in my arms. and they wheeled me to a post-op room that I believe they monitor you for about an hour before they send you up to your official room. So I was just doing like skin to skin with her, and we were just hanging out there. The girls were very helpful. They also gave me the option to try to see if she would latch on to me, which she didn't. She never ended up latching on to me at all, but they were nice enough to help me try. Like, we were trying together, they were talking to me, and they told me like how much she ended up weighing, her time of birth and everything. And then they did let me know that even though she wasn't latching in the moment, that they were gonna have a lactation specialist go to the room so that way she'd be able to help me. And then I was moved over to my room. And one thing that before I forget this, I do want to mention that after they took her out and everything, they kind of push down on your body, I believe, to get all of the blood and everything out. And I remember telling them, like, I remember telling the anesthesiologist that I could feel, like, it wasn't pain, but it just felt like literally like someone's just like pushing down like on your rib cage and on your stomach, like just like yanking down. Like it was a little bit painful. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say maybe like a 2 or a 3, but it was uncomfortable. So they gave me more anesthesia, but I'm so small that I think they gave me a little bit too much. So whenever I was wheeled to my actual room after they observed me for 2 hours and everything, when I got my official room, I remember feeling very, very nauseous. So that's one thing that I wanted to mention. And I would go into detail about like my post-op room and all of that experience, but I want to save that for a separate video. I want to do a postpartum video in regards to postpartum at the hospital, and then I want to try taking the time to do a postpartum video for my experience postpartum after you leave the hospital and everything like that. But I do want to say I feel as though my labor and delivery experience was amazing for me. Even though I had a C-section, I know when I tell people I have a C-section, they're like, oh, like that must have been terrible, or oh, you must feel so sad. Like, you know, there's a lot of negative stigma associated with a C-section, and for me, I don't regret it. I wouldn't change it for the world. My C-section scar is very low. I'm pretty sure people that know me that are watching this video didn't even know I had a C-section. Thankfully, I don't have any wood on me, but thankfully I don't have any stretch marks. My C-section scar is underneath my bikini line, like way low, so you cannot even see it when I wear bikinis. I just be living my life with my hidden C-section scar, and yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. And if I do have another child, I would probably try VBAC, but for some reason giving birth vaginally scares me more than having another C-section. I don't know why. I think it's just like when I think of vaginal, I think of like ripping, like the tears and all of that, and I feel like that's an area that would hurt a lot. Whereas when they cut me up, I was not cut me up, when they did my C-section, they cut me open, I was medicated, I was numbed, and then the postpartum experience, the recovery experience, I was given medication as well. So I don't know, but yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Happy Mother's Day to all of my beautiful mamas watching this video, and don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. I hope you guys have an amazing day, week, weekend, month, and rest of your year. Bye, my beauties.